Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of my voting edition videos. As many may know, America's election day is coming up really soon. It's actually next Tuesday, November 3rd. So today I am encouraging people 18 and older to use their vote by sharing some very important voting facts. Voter suppression was mainly in the southern states of America, and it was when white Southerners made it more difficult for black people to be able to vote. 1776 was the year that America became an independent country. So how come it took 94 years for African American men to be able to vote? And how come it took 144 years for women to be able to vote? And how come it took 172 years for Native American people to be able to vote? Your life depends on it, as well as millions of others. So today I'm with two of my classmates, or more like Jack and Jill mates. We are in an organization together. We have Kyla, Wave Kyla, and then we have Winton. They both serve on the board of Jack and Jill, or at least our chapter. Can you guys explain what you guys do? Kyla, you can go first.
Yes, so I'm the vice president of the teen group of the South Suburban Chicago chapter of Jack and Jill America. Basically, my role is to support the president and her endeavors, whatever she needs. And then as well, I am in charge of membership as a whole, so everything that goes along with that.
And Winton?
Hi, my name is Winton. I'm the treasurer of our teen group, and basically I help with finances and different monies that we deal with.
Okay, and I'm just, I guess, a member, so I guess I would be the one to vote them in. And luckily, I know the importance of voting, and I will believe that Kyla and Winton do too, based off of where the positions are, at least in our chapter. So today I'm gonna ask them a few questions. I guess I'll be the mediator. They'll answer their questions. They're pretty opinion based, but it's still important, especially if you're an adult watching this. We really do. We're hoping for you to vote. Our future depends on it. Your future depends on it. You are a citizen here of America. So our first question here is, why do politics matter to you? Kyla, you can go first.
Okay. Um, Politics matter to me. When I think of politics, I think of government, and the government rules over the people. And as a citizen of this country, I should, I think that we all should have a say. Since we live in a democracy, we should have a say in what goes on in the government, who's in charge of our government, and stuff like that. So I would say more of like government is important to me because it determines like my livelihood and my future in this country, and as well like government's important to me because what if I want to go into government when I get older? I want to see good examples, or maybe even bad examples. I think as we see now of how to lead so that I can lead in a better way in order to like make change in our country. So yeah.
Okay, that's a good answer. You went to.
So basically, what I'd say is it means to me, it's kind of like the way that we perceive our political views and kind of how we like go about our day to day, because everything that they do up on the higher level affects us on a day-to-day basis, no matter how old we are or young we are. Whatever they do, like, that affects whether I can go to school or whether I can go to the store, and like a lot of other things.
Yeah, when I believe when Trump first came into office, or President Trump, I should say, um, my mom and I were kind of talking. We didn't realize when President Barack Obama was in office, you know, very small laws that may affect something small, and eventually over time it builds up. It takes a while for you to actually realize that something that you thought didn't like relate to you actually will eventually relate to you. But I totally see what you're talking about when you say that it affects our daily lives. The next one is, what political issues do you hear about the most through the media? Do you think there should be other issues replacing those issues that are being brought up? And what's the most issue that you think affects the United States citizens?
Um, okay, I would say that right now, the world that we're living in, I think COVID has brought up a lot, and then race in America, with all the protests going on, which I think both things are important. Um, And as far as like the debates, I noticed that they focus on the same topics in both presidential debates. So COVID, Black Lives Matter, global warming, and like the climate change in the world. Yeah, those are the main three things that I remember them talking about that were vital and important. But I think one thing that should be talked about on the news more, and particularly in those debates, was like their stance, or like just the government stance on LGBTQ IA plus. I think that's the correct term. I think that is there are increasing numbers of those people in our country, and their life matters just as Black, white, male or female lives matter. And so I think that it's important for our government to have a stance on those things, so that those people can be equally protected too, just as other people.
I agree with you. I do for sure, especially on the LGBTQ plus community. And Winston, what do you think?
I think there's really so many issues that we face on a day-to-day basis. Like Kyla and like you said, like it's just so many things. I mean, and the list could go on and on. And then, but I think our biggest issue, at least for me personally, when I take a step and I look back at everything, is that since there is so many issues, I feel that we need to kind of hone in on one issue at a time and really try to fix that, because I think that the issue that we're having is we're trying to fix all the things at one time. And honestly, I don't think we're intelligent enough to try to fix everything at one time. I mean, not to be rude or anything, but I really don't think that our politics can handle all of that, which is why we see such small movement in what we're trying to fix. And then on which one is the most pressing issue, I think that I don't think it's fair to say something is more pressing over something else when there's just so many issues. Like, yes, like racial inequality is a big issue. I mean, but at the end of the day, none of us will be alive if we don't combat climate change and things like that. Like, it'll be great if we can all be in peace and harmony, but like our earth will be like blowing up. So, yeah.
Yeah, climate change is actually something that personally I don't think about a lot because, like you said, racial inequality and a bunch of hate crimes that you see all over the internet and stuff, you forget. And many people care about it, but there's just so many things on our hands that we tend to forget about. So the next one is most people tend to be cynical towards or have cynical views towards politicians. An example is all politicians are corrupt and they only care about themselves. Do you guys have this point of view? I'm sorry, I forgot to add. So do you have this point of view? And if so, what are some things that if you were to become this politician or a politician in general, how would you prevent people to believe this point of view?
Okay. So I think it's really hard when we kind of look at our politicians, because seeing as though we aren't in that seat, we can just kind of look back and kind of like say, you aren't doing this and you're not doing that. But I think at the end of the day, being a politician, I think every politician has like an agenda, and that could be good or bad. It could be for or against you. But at the end of the day, every politician has some type of agenda, and the way that they were raised and their views shape that agenda. And so I would say that I don't think all of them are bad. I think that some of them are good and some of them aren't. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's good enough for us to keep going in the manner that it is right now. Because there's just like, if you look at the Trumps of the world and like how he got there and what he believes in, like that is as personal agenda as it gets. Like what he's doing is what he wants to see, and it's not really in the eyes of the rest of America and the people.
Okay, Kyla, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Winston, and I think this is kind of a maybe tricky question because I feel like every person is different, and everybody, for the most part, every politician runs for different reasons. They may be under the same umbrella, but those particular reasons may be different. And as well, like um, every citizen in this country is viewing this world in a different lens. So when we think of Trump, like his view of America and his world that he grew up in is different than ours. So his view of how this country should be run is based on what he knows and what he grew up experiencing. So we would automatically have different agendas. He's automatically going to have a different agenda than Kamala Harris because they grew up totally different. And so I think that to answer your question, yeah, some politicians are corrupt, but also I think now more are emerging that are actually trying to create change. And I think especially when we start to grow older and the generation above us starts to grow older, like the millennials, I think that we will see a lot more people who are actually trying to make change and represent everybody in this country. For example, ALC, if she could run for president, she would be the perfect person right now, but she's not old enough. But yeah, so I think that as far as like back in the day and some of the people that are still running now, yeah, they may be a little corrupt, but I think the world is changing. I think we can all see the world is changing. So I'm hopeful that the next round of politicians will actually create change and want to represent the people that they're representing.
Yeah, that was a really good answer. I honestly agree with both of you guys. It's really just depends on how you're raised. And it's like that, not even if you're something other than a politician, if you're a lawyer or if you're a psychiatrist, psychologist, you react on how you're taught. You do things based off of how you're taught. So it really just stems down or goes down to childbirth and how all of that in general, just the developing years is really a key moment to how that will determine how you will be when you're older. So I agree with you guys. So that's all the questions I have for today. Thank you again, Kyla and Winton, for joining me. Remember, guys, if you are, I should say, remember adults or people older than 18, if you're watching this, please use your vote. Please use your right. Our future depends on it. Your future depends on it. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and wear your masks.